Hey, everybody. Happy Independence Day 2020. I just want to share a few thoughts here. Boy, doesn't it look a little different outside? Doesn't it feel a little bit different this year? I kind of want to go through some thoughts, some questions that I have, and kind of help folks keep things in a little bit of perspective. Um, yeah, things look very different. I'm looking forward to seeing who chimes in here, comments. I should be able to see the comments streaming on this system here. I'm from a small town in Illinois. We have a little bit of a tradition, and things look very different. Obviously, in a lot of places, fireworks are canceled, parades are canceled. I made this video 3 years ago. This is kind of a tradition we do in our hometown. You get up super early. Here, just check this out. There's a tradition in my hometown where people get up really early to put their chairs out to get ready for the parade. Check this out. Look at that. So people get up early, they put their chairs out, getting ready for the parade. It's pretty neat. Yeah, afterwards, when you drive home, it's just a short distance away. When you drive home, you see all these chairs out there. People just leave their chairs out. They're not worried about them getting stolen or taken or whatever. But as I said, a lot of this year looks different. Everything looks really different. Look at some of the headlines. These are from several years, and I've used a lot of these in different presentations that I've done. I talked about them in my first book. Even in a couple of these are from my first book in 2015. But check this out. A California family fined for doing a Bible study in their home. Fined for doing a Bible study in their home. And you have to ask, what question is it? Or what country is this? The question you have to ask, what country is this? Local laws ban front yard food gardens in cities across the USA. I was in Orlando at the time, and there was a couple that they had a garden, and there's a local ordinance that said you can't grow a garden, and they were getting fined every single day, and they made a big stink of it. They went to the media. They got a lot of public outrage. People are like, really, you can't? We can't grow food at our own property? Second part of the Fifth Amendment says no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. 14th Amendment guarantees that in the states. We have a natural God-given right to grow food, don't we? But what's crazy is the legislature took this up. Florida passes law preventing local governments from passing rules against homeowners' vegetable gardens. It took the Florida legislature to protect that right. But the thing is, I remember at the time, I had this particular blog doesn't quite explain it very well, but I had an issue at the time with that law. The question you have to ask is, the law that they passed, is it protecting your right, or is it granting your right? Is it granting you the right to grow vegetables in your front yard, or is it punishing those that prevent you from doing that? Because I don't think there was any punishment in there. I think that they took the position of granting people the right to grow food in their front yard. You have to watch out for these things. Here's another one. Man sentenced to 30 days for catching rainwater on his own property. So now the government is saying we own the rain, and you have to get permission from us before you can collect it on your own property? What country is this, right? Here's one. 90-year-old man, Florida man, charged for feeding homeless people. And in fact, I remember seeing another article that said he was arrested twice in 1 week for feeding the homeless. Are you saying we have to get permission? The government has to allow us to feed the homeless? And more recently, Oshkosh dog groomer arrested for opening a business hours before the state changes the guidelines. with the whole corona thing. And you know what's crazy about this? I mean, I watched this video. So here's this article. Here's this news story. And the video was relatively long of her arrest. She was very peaceful. She says, fine, whatever. I'm trying to feed my family. Waiting for your $1,200 that's already mine. I'll be charged for anyways. My children have to pay that debt back. Fine, you can take me away. She put her hands back there to arrest him. But what's crazy is right there, that picture of that officer is right behind her head. If you watch the whole video, he wasn't wearing a mask. The entire time when he's arresting her, he wasn't wearing a mask. So was this about submission or was this about the virus? If it's about the virus, there's hypocrisy everywhere, and we all know that. It just breaks my heart watching this. So when I think about today, I want to put things in perspective a little bit. Now, I do a lot of digital marketing. I make digital marketing videos. And in the digital marketing world, I'm sure you guys have all heard this, SEO, search engine optimization. I'm going to use that to kind of talk to your spirit, talk to the American spirit within you. I'm going to trigger you for the next few minutes, actually. I'm going to say a few things, and I want to trigger some thoughts. I want you to be aware. You know, if I said, be aware of your left elbow right now, you would all of a sudden, you weren't thinking about it a moment ago, but right when I said your left elbow, you were aware of it, and you said, okay, I feel it on the chair, or you're aware of it, right? I want you to put your awareness to the thoughts that come rushing forward when I use certain keywords. In search engine optimization, what you do is you use keywords within your website, your web page, your blog post, so that it's optimized for a search engine to find you. So somebody's over here searching. They have their keywords that they're searching in their search engine. They will go and they will bring your blog post forward because of keywords. So I'm going to use some keywords here. One thing, something I did recently, I made a video for a Jeep dealership. Okay. So in this, let me put that right here. So in this video, this particular one is just a little bit of music. I hope it's not too loud. I hope you can still hear me. But in this particular video, you know, this is Jeep. When you hear the word Jeep, when you think of a Jeep or see a Jeep, what are the key words that come rushing forward? What do you think of? Think about that for a moment. What are the key words? What do you think of when you see Jeep? To me, it's rugged. It's 4x4. It's adventure. It's off-road. Right? That's what I think of when I see a Jeep. I'm going to turn this thing off. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So I think of a Jeep, I think of a adventure, four-wheel drive. Those are the key words. And that's part of the Jeep family. Those who own Jeeps, they're part of this family of people. And they have a culture. And they're all surrounded by this idea of off-road, 4x4, fun, adventure, right? It all started back in the beginning of Jeep when they were first created, and then they were made for consumer CJs, the consumer Jeeps. When they were, you know, you can dig back and look at the founding of Jeep and how it started, making them for the war effort. But even back to the founding, within the initial documents, the incorporation of the Jeep company, you're going to find some of these key words. And then the culture, the corporate culture, if you will, from those who work for Jeep. And those who work for Jeep, they meet the demand of the people that buy the Jeeps. The people that buy the Jeeps are essentially the ones that are controlling the company, right? When you first begin to work for Jeep or any company, what do? They give you what? Your first day, you go through the HR process. And HR, the orientation, right? Employment orientation. They hand you an operator's or a employee manual. And you read through the employee manual, and the employee manual tells you everything you have to do, right? This is your responsibility. This is what you are responsible for. You're not responsible for these other things. You're responsible for this. And you sign off on it. You agree. You take a pledge to agree. And you say, I receive that. I am now responsible for these things. And if you deviate from that, It even says in there, you're out. You're going to be fired, right? What if at a Jeep dealership, somebody, instead of selling Jeeps, they decided one day to sell a Prius? Kind of weird, right? What if they decided to sell a Prius? Now, what are the key words? What are the things that flash forward when you think of a Prius? I guarantee the words that you think of are not the same ones when you think of a Jeep. Am I right? Off-road, adventure, 4x4s. When you think of a Prius, you're not thinking about those things. You can't go off-road, all that. So somebody who at a Jeep dealership decides to start selling Jeep or start selling Prius, what are they going to do? They're going to get fired because it's anti-Jeep, right? I know you guys know where I'm going with this. Think about America's founding. Here we are celebrating our independence. Actually, before I say that, when I say the word America, what are the key words that start flashing forward? America. Independence. That's today. Land of the free. Right? Freedom, liberty, all of that. And you can find those words, those key words, back at our founding. Back in our founding documents. Today, the Declaration of Independence, that's what we're celebrating. When we declared independence. What does that mean to be independent? What is the opposite of that? Dependent. Right? If you're not independent, you're dependent. I mean, before they voted on the Declaration of Independence and voted for independence, the day before that, they were subjects of the king. The day after that, they were free. But now we've got this. People being arrested for feeding the homeless, for collecting rainwater in their property, for growing gardens. They're being fined they didn't get permission. The government today is saying you are dependent upon us for permission. And when you look at the Declaration of Independence, there's two very important aspects to that. Number one, the most progressive, the most advanced, the most wild idea to date in any government before it and since was what they did. They declared independence and they said, number one, our rights come from God. We are endowed by our Creator with certain, not uncertain, inalienable rights, inalienable, unalienable. You cannot put a lien on them. You cannot stop them from having them and then charge us a fee or fine to get them back. You can't put a lien on them. You cannot alienate them. You cannot give them up. People cannot take them away. They are natural, God-given rights. Among these, it's not the entire list, but among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When Thomas Jefferson originally wrote that in the first draft, he said life, liberty, or property. That term was a common phrase. It made its way to the second part of the Fifth Amendment. It says no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Also was repeated in the 14th Amendment at the state level. But what most people miss is the second line, the next line after that. It says, and to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That is the quote unquote proper role of government. Search that term, proper role of government. The proper role of government is to secure our rights. Not to dictate them, not to mandate them, not to hand them out, not to pick and choose like this, not to pick and choose who gets rights and who doesn't. Was this about the virus? Or was this about submission? Because if it was about the virus, why isn't that cop being arrested right now? He wasn't wearing a mask, and the media just conveniently puts his head behind her arrest. Is it about submission, or is it about the virus? Is it about protecting rights, or is it about submission? When you go to the store, when you go to a big box store, they got that plexiglass up there. Why can't a mom and pop store put up plexiglass and put tape on the floor every 6 feet and whatever? Is it about submission or is it about the virus? Because I guarantee when you're at the big box store, you're at the grocery store, you're at the Home Depot, Lowe's, what do? You pay. You reach around the plexiglass and give them money. What do? They give you change from the drawer that the previous person gave you, and they reach around and they give you the change. Is it about the virus or is it about submission? Where the government picks and chooses who wins, who loses. If it's about the virus, then you make it about the virus and there's consistency there. There's actual genuine consistency, not hypocrisy. You don't make a rule that you can't travel, and then you as governor go up to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and your family travels to Florida. You don't make a rule that you can't travel, that you got to stay at home, and then you don't follow it. You don't make a rule about masks, and then you take it off yourself and shove it in your pocket while your interpreter is standing right next to you with no mask. Is it about submission, or is it about the rule? Man, you guys got me going now. This is what I think about today, Independence Day. There's no fireworks. There's no parades. None of this. But there are protests. And I'm not going to, at another time, at a later date, I'll talk about the protests and all of that. Which I'm all for protesting. You have the right. You don't have to get permission and permits and whatever to do all that. Back in the Tea Party days, yeah, we got permits every time. And you know what? The place wherever we went, City Hall or the park, was always cleaner after we left. Nowadays, that's out the window. I guess that was a mistake we made. We would have got more attention, I guess, if we would have burned and looted. Don't get me started. This is what I think about with Independence Day. This is my American spirit. 2 Corinthians 3:17, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. There's freedom there. We rose up against the force and tyranny of government. Right? If you want me to do something, we should be winning hearts and minds, not using force and mandates and fees and fines and threats from the government. That's what we stood up against. So today is Independence Day. Declare your independence. Leave a comment below. Share this video, but leave a comment below. Let me know how you are celebrating independence today. Here's a couple of comments. April says, wow, I never thought of it that way. That's awesome. So I've been investing lately, trying to get a little bit of podcasting set up here for some videos. And so over the coming weeks and months, you guys are going to hear more about this, some books that I'm putting together, some research that I'm doing. Inga says, wow, we live in a nation where most people believe that government is our God. That's right. We're supposed to be one. I put together this a couple years ago. It's called I Choose Liberty. It's a little pocket constitution. And in there, I wrote 30 foundational American principles. First one, our rights come from God. Secondly, the proper role of government is to protect our rights, is to secure our rights. That's in the original documents. That's supposed to be part of our culture. By the way, when I said somebody first starts at the Jeep dealership or the Jeep employee, what do? They get their employee manual. And they sign it, and they say, yes, HR, I have received this. I swear to protect and defend my job here and this manual. That's what I'm supposed to do. Second part of the Declaration of Independence says, and to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. We create a government for the proper role of protecting our rights. How do we do that? We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, that's the Constitution. We, the people, wrote the Constitution. It's not our document, it's their document. We wrote it for them. They are our employee. On their first day in office, on the first day of the job, every single government employee swears an oath to protect and defend, an actual oath before God, to protect and defend their employee manual, their instruction manual. We, the people, have the power. The hierarchy is God, man, and to secure our rights, we created government. It's supposed to be the local government is the most involved in your life, then the state government, and way down here at the bottom, the smallest government is supposed to be this far-off federal government with the least involvement in our lives. Folks, we are way out of whack. I talk about the hierarchy in the book. On their first day, they swear an oath to protect and defend their employee manual. They say, I will follow this Article 1, our power from God. Look back. Now you got me started. Look back. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He created man. He gave us dominion. And you notice in the list of things he gave us dominion over, he didn't give us dominion over other men. So to organize, we the people wrote the Constitution and said, in order to form a more perfect union, domestic tranquility, blah, 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 we established blah, 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 all that. Our power in Article 1, we vested power in a legislature. We gave power to a legislature. Article 1, Section 8 lists 18 enumerated powers that they have jurisdiction over, that they can do. 10th Amendment says if it's not listed here, it's up to the states or the people. Article 2, we vested power in an executive. Article 3, we vested judicial power in a judicial system. Did we ever give them power to grant us rights to grow gardens? Did we ever give them power to give us permission to study the Bible in our home? No, we didn't. Now you got me started. Gabriel, God bless you. He says, we just moved into our new house last night. We celebrate independence by living the American dream. God bless you, Gabriel. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for tuning in. Guys, over the coming weeks and months, I'm going to be putting out more videos, more thoughts on this. Here we are, Independence Day 2020. Speaking of independence, I am on Parler. You guys can find me on Parler as well. If you guys go there, just all one word, Jason W. Hoyt. I'm on Parler as well. I'm kind of backing off on the Facebook thing a little bit. There's some reasons, and I'll tell you more about that in the coming weeks and months, but check me out on Parler. God bless you guys. Have a great Independence Day. Love y'all.